Hi guys. All right, so it is reading time with Miss Acton. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna move some of this stuff out of the way. Oh, you gonna work for me? All right. So it is reading time. So what are we gonna be able to say that we know what to do after today's lesson with Miss Acton? So you're gonna be able to say, I will describe what I learned from the visuals in a nonfiction or informational text. So we're focusing on the visuals. So when I say visuals, what I'm meaning is the things that we see. So not the words, not the title, but the pictures, the photographs, the maps, the illustrations. So I'm going to give you some examples of what those that I mean. So these are examples of visuals that you might see in a text. So let's move me out of here. So we have a diagram, which gives you labels. It's usually an illustration that has labels on what's going on. I'm going to give you another example of this here in a second. Maps show you places where you can go. Photographs, those are usually my favorite because they're actual photographs of the actual animals. This is the actual picture that someone took with the camera of a tiger. We've got timeline, so timeline that follows the life cycle of a frog, and it shows the time that it takes for them to move to each stage of their life. We got an infograph. You don't really see those too much in a lot of second grade text because there's a lot of information in a small spot, and they use really big words in them that some second graders aren't ready for yet. But they basically are just this graph that has a bunch of information in it. Illustrations, those are also some of my favorites too, because it's normally about an animal and just a really good drawing. And then we have some graphs. So the ones that you're definitely going to see more often are these three up here: photograph, map, and diagram. And this one down here, illustration. The rest of them you will see in some text here and there, but definitely those three in illustration are the one that you're going to see the most. So here's another example of a photograph of a tiger, but a photograph can be a photograph of any animal, a place, a person, as long as it's a real life picture that somebody took with some sort of camera. A very pretty picture of a lion or a tiger. Oh my gosh. Next is a map, and this is actually a map of the United States. And if you look right here is the state of Kentucky, which is pretty cool. But this has all of the states in the United States on here. And I like the colors that it uses, that's why I picked this one. But it normally has labels showing you what places are. And there's normally different symbols on here to show you how to use the map. But that's a different lesson, not really the one we're talking about now. Here's an illustration. So this is a really good drawing of a tiger. So illustration is just a real live animal that is put into a drawing, and it normally doesn't look cartoony. This, I mean, if you look at this real fast and just go like, bam, like you would think, oh, that's a photograph of a real tiger. That's how good that is. So a lot of times the illustrations that you see in books are usually really stinking good because they're trying to show you what that animal really looks like. Next, we have a diagram, and I like diagrams too because it normally is an illustration or a photograph and it labels parts. So a lot of times this is animals that it does this, so it labels the body parts of them. So here we have a ladybug and it labels the wing and the head, the antennas, and there's other parts of it that I didn't even know that a ladybug has an elytra. I think I'm saying that right. And I'm assuming it's the shell that's covering what gives it its bright red color and has the dots on it, and it protects the wings. And then the pronotum, I'm guessing there's two little white dots on the back of a ladybug's head. I don't know what they're for, but they're called a pronotum, if I'm saying that right. So learning stuff, even just looking at these little pictures here. Next we have timeline. Again, you don't see this one too often. Usually timelines are found in books that you might read about famous people or people that did a really good thing in history, like Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. You'll see timelines of their life, but this just happens to be a timeline of a frog's life cycle. So on March 2nd, eggs were hatched, and then we move up to March 11th when the eggs hatch and are tadpoles. May 10th, the tadpoles start to get legs. By June 9th, there's all kinds of legs and the tail's almost non-existent. And by June 27th, it's a full-grown frog. So a nice little life cycle of a timeline. So those are all examples of some of the visuals that you will see in your text. Those are types of visuals. They're going to shape more meaning to the story. So it makes the stories a little more exciting. So now we have a story about our Okapi, our guy that we had yesterday that you guys practiced how to draw. So it's the same exact text. I just switched up the image because yesterday we had a photograph, and I feel like photographs are really common and we know what those are. So I wanted to try to find a diagram of them. So it's an Okapi illustration, which is a drawing. It looks pretty spot on. And then there's things that are labeling it. So it's labeling its large ears, two small horns, a short mane, high in the shoulders than the hips. So it's saying its hips are lower than the shoulders are. So hooves, it's got all the labels in here labeling the parts of our okapi. So what this standard is telling us is that this visual, this diagram is teaching us something, and so are the words, okay? And normally they're close to teaching the same thing, but sometimes there's surprises. So reading through this text, you guys read it yesterday. If you watched the video with Miss Acton, then you read through this, and it talks about what an okapi looks like. And almost spot on, it talks about everything in here. It talked about how it's got stripes like a zebra, it's got a body looks like a horse, it's got a neck like a giraffe, it's got horns like a giraffe. The only thing it doesn't say is a long blue sticky tongue. So technically, in this text, when it talks about the long blue sticky tongue, the text is teaching us that, and the image is not, the visual is not. So we're learning more from the text about the okapi's tongue than we are the visual. Do you see how we're learning things from both of them? But the one thing that it does not talk about in here is the mane of the okapi. It doesn't even say that it has a mane, which is the hair that goes along the back of its neck. You usually see that in a horse. Doesn't say anything about the mane in the words, but it says that it has a short mane in the text. And even though we can't see it, we know that there has to be one there because it wouldn't mention it if it didn't. It also says nothing about the hooves. The image has, or the visual, I keep saying image because that is what we practiced last year. But the word that we're actually supposed to teach you guys is visual. So when you hear me say image, say, no, no, Miss Acton, it's visual. You got to say visual, what you're seeing with your vision. So this image is teaching us a few more things than what this text is. So nowhere does it say that they have higher shoulders than their hips. So their shoulders sit higher up off the ground than their hips do, which kind of makes their back go at an angle like that. It says it's striped like a zebra, but our image goes even deeper and says striped legs above the knee. So it just says that the stripes are on the legs and they don't go below the knee, and then we can see that they don't go onto the body of the okapi. They just stay right there on the legs. It didn't say anything about the tail. If you remember yesterday, Miss Acton drew a horse tail on this poor animal, and we know that it's got this short little tiny tail like a giraffe does. It's kind of like, see if I can draw. It's kind of like a little tail, and it's got a little bushy part at the very end of it. But yeah, so it doesn't look anything like a horse's tail, and it says it right here. A fringed tail like a giraffe's. And then it talks about it has two horns like a giraffe, which we know giraffe horns are small, so kind of shares the same thing when we talk about this part. And then it talks about nothing about the ears in the text, but here it shows us the ears and it talks about the ears. So these are all the things that I circled, or all the things that it talks about in this image that we do not, that it talks about in this visual that we do not hear about in this text. So we are learning stuff from both things. And that's what the standard is supposed to teach you, that you don't just read the words and move to the next page. You read the words and you look at the visuals in your books, because they're teaching you just as much, maybe even more than the words are, okay? So now I'm going to give you a chance to kind of look and see what you think in this text. So I'm going to read the text to you and read the captions, but I want you to take a look at the photographs once we're done. So it says, many insects keep themselves alive by hiding. It is a great way of surviving and keeping themselves alive. Often these bugs blend in with where they live. Blending in with where you live is called camouflage. The katydid looks like green leaves to blend in with trees and plants. Walking sticks look like twigs to hide from animals that might eat them. These two insects are very good at hiding. The bugs pick a place that they can blend in easily and sit very still. They only move when they are not in danger. It is an interesting way to survive. I would not want to play hide and seek with these insects. I think the author of this is saying that because they definitely would lose. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a walking stick in person, but it is crazy how much they look like a stick. So they'll just hang on a branch and just sit still. I don't know a lot of animals that do that to survive. A lot of animals that I see that survive in the wild either fight back with what's trying to get them with their, they have sharp teeth or claws. Um, they usually fight back with whatever's trying to eat them, or they're really fast and they run away from what's trying to eat them. So it's really weird whenever I see a bug that just chills, because most of them I feel like have wings to fly away, or they have pinchers to pinch with, but or they have holes to like go and hide in. But these animals really don't hide in like holes. They hide right in the middle of a tree, whether it's with the leaves or with a branch, and then they just sit still. I feel like if I had to just go find a place and just freeze and wait for the animal that's trying to eat me to just walk away, I feel like I would have a panic attack every time that I would have to do that. So these animals are really brave and they really trust in the way that they look. But I mean, it's even hard to find this katydid in this picture right here. Miss Acton can make this image, this visual a little bigger so we can see a little bit better. So it looks like it's got its legs right there, front legs, back legs, and that's a little tail. And then this is its body where the leaf is, and then there's its antennas right there. So I mean, it's crazy how much this thing looks like a leaf. So in this, it says the katydid looks like green leaves to blend in with trees and plants. And you're like, okay, it looks like a leaf. But when you look right here, you're like, that thing looks just like a leaf. There are no words in this world. There are no words that I could put into this text that would describe how much this creature looks like a dang leaf. That's craziness. And same thing with the walking stick down here. And same thing with our walking stick that we have down here. It says, make it a little bigger. It says walking sticks are hard to find when hanging on a twig of a tree. And so they're hanging on that tree right there, looking just like a freaking stick. That's why it's called a walking stick. And again, there are no words in this world that this author could put in this text that would make me be able to see and visualize how much that this dang animal looks like a stick. But it does. It looks just like a stick. So these two pictures are not just teaching me that these animals are awesome looking in the way that they're able to hide themselves, but it's teaching me that there are no words that could describe how well these two animals look like what they're trying to blend in with. Okay, that's amazing. So these words did a good job of explaining to me really, what a katydid is, why they're important, what they use to help keep themselves safe. But I can't see that and believe that and experience it until I see an actual picture of these two animals, an actual photograph. And that's what I appreciate about having those two photographs right there and really teaching me what these animals look like. So that's kind of what your job is today in your reading assignment. You're going to see, I think I have 2 informational texts in your classwork today, and you're going to tell me why are those images more important than those words in there? Why are those images just as important? And what are those images, those visuals? Why are those visuals so important? What are they teaching you that the text, that the words are not teaching you? Because they're teaching you a lot that that text is not even saying anything about. So have fun with your assignment. Enjoy the articles that Miss Acton reads to you. There's one about this really cool animal called the electric eel that I think you're really going to like. And work hard. And remember, if you have any questions or you need anything, text or call your teachers, and they're more than happy to help you, okay? Have fun, guys. Bye.